Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, Piece of Garbage Neighbor Parking in My Driveway. I live in a fairly large city where parking is difficult, and my next door neighbor doesn't want to pay the extra $270 a month to park in the driveway of where he lives. So he parks on the street and takes up 2 spaces when he can find a spot. When he cannot, he feels entitled to park in my driveway or at least block it, as well as other neighbors. In general, he is scum as he litters, has dumped trash on my lawn as well as other neighbors' lawns, and shouts loud phone conversations outside at midnight when others are trying to sleep. So he parked and I told him I needed to get out, and he said that it wasn't his problem. So I called a tow truck and he got towed. I called a towing company to fish the car out of my driveway. They have multiple garages, one not far from me, and they have another in all other boroughs. Long story short, they don't like the guy either because he has been towed elsewhere before and he is always rude to them and their staff because it is never his fault for parking like a woe nugget. I told them to take it all the way to their garage in Staten Island, which requires paying a $15 toll to get there, along with mileage and all other expenses, as well as sitting in traffic for 2 hours. Neighbor comes back and is fuming, asking where his car is. I respond, not my problem. Have fun sitting in traffic and paying $15 toll as well as your fees. And yeah guys, I would say that is exactly what an entitled neighborhood parking spot thief deserves. However, ripe stars, I am curious, have you ever gotten someone towed? And especially your neighbor in particular? Please feel free to share your story in the comments or on r/ripe stories on Reddit. Especially if you post it on Reddit, there is a good chance that I might read it in a video. This one is an update to the previous story and it is titled Garbage Neighbor Again. My jerkwad neighbor who loves parking in my driveway parked there again this winter. He apparently didn't learn. We had several snowstorms this winter and there were advisories to not park your car in the street for plowing purposes. Of course, this dude still doesn't want to pay $270 for a parking pass where he lives. My parents were visiting, so all of our cars were in my driveway. We were having dinner and here it is in the middle of the night. He doesn't call first, nor does he ring on the doorbell. He bangs on the door, not knock, there's a difference, interrupting dinner with my family. I ask what his problem is.
I cannot park on the street. Let me park in your driveway.
Excuse me? No, may I? Let alone a please? I politely said, no you can't, and especially since my driveway was full and it is my driveway, I'm not going to move my parents' cars nor mine just for him to park. He left and went to demand parking in other neighbors' driveways. They too know he's a piece of work and are long fed up with him as well, so they said no. He comes back later after hearing him swear up and down the block. He knocks again and I tell him that he can park if he gave me $60. I wager that's the price if he wants to take my time out from having dinner with my family to move all the cars out of my driveway and have him at the end of the driveway so he wouldn't be blocking us in. He starts cursing and walks away. I didn't care, finished dinner with my family. The next day came about and it is when the advisory is in effect. My parents took my dad's car and they went to get groceries, only to come back and find that butthole parked in the driveway again. Okay, now you wanna play? I tried calling a truck, but they were in a delay that had to do with getting people out of their cars, and the tow truck companies are fully booked during the winter, so I was not going to wait hours. I did not ring his doorbell or anything because I knew his response. He pretends to not be home when it is time to alert him of his douchebaggery. Having some warm cider in my living room, I see him leave with a friend and they go out. But he rides with his friend and leaves his car in my driveway, light bulbs turned on. My driveway is mostly flat, thankfully, so my dad and I jacked the rear end of his car and pivoted it out of the way, and there was barely enough to wiggle my dad's car back into the driveway. However, we got it out of the way enough that we could get cars in and out of the driveway with careful maneuvering. Now he is still gone, and so I took the jack back under his car and jacked the car up right on its catalytic converter. It's bent and has left a slight opening in the exhaust work. Also, it left a scratch at the bases of his door. Have fun with rust in some time. It is pretty effing cold out, and I had brought in my garden hose for the winter, but I hooked it up to my basement sink and set it on mist and thoroughly showered his car with water, giving it a decent coating of ice over the door handles, on the windshield and the windows. The snow gets heavy and we haven't noticed him return yet. We figure he would return because he would have to be flummoxed about his car being covered in ice. We've got an idea though. The snow stopped a bit and we began some shoveling and packed mounds of snow around his car, thus making it inaccessible. He returns and asks what happened to his car. I ask him why he parked where people shoveled snow into piles. He knew damn well he parked there, but it was fun watching him take an entire day trying to melt the ice and free his car. He said he was going to call the cops, and so I told him to. He didn't, since he probably knew he would get fined and I can charge him with trespassing. The guy also thought it was a good idea to try and melt ice with hot water. It cracked his windshield. Have fun with rust and an exhaust leak. Try it again. Play stupid games. Win stupid prizes. And guys, if you have watched until here and enjoy the stories about crazy neighbors, then please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support my channel. Thank you so much in advance. And the next one is titled, Move Your Car, lol, okay. I am the 19th female daughter of my normally very nice parents. We had new neighbors move in about 2 years ago, and for the most part we have just left them be. They are a little annoying sometimes, and there were a couple of instances where we had to complain about the overwhelming noise of their weekend parties at night, but other than that they are pretty okay neighbors. We've never had a problem with them until recently, after several strikes against my family. Strike number 1, destructive dogs. So our neighbor's family and my family own dogs. My dogs are very gentle and spend most of their time indoors. We live in Southern California, and when this incident happened it was in the middle of the summer, so we let our dogs stay inside to keep cool. Their dogs are very aggressive and are raised as outside dogs. Every time I let my dogs out in the backyard for some fresh air, my neighbor's dogs will attempt to break through the wooden fence dividing our properties via digging, climbing, scratching, etc. The digging was easy to stop, we just filled in the holes with dirt. But at some point their dog managed to create a hole in the wall large enough for their dog to squeeze their face in, so about the size of a dinner plate. We have cameras, so we caught everything on tape. My parents are pretty understanding, so my dad went and talked to my neighbors, offering to pay half of the damage since it is our shared property line. The neighbor's wife, who we are going to call Lying Sally for this story, called my dad a liar and accused our dogs of damaging the fence, which we knew wasn't true, and my dad told her we had proof that it was her dogs and demanded that my family pay for the damages. They fought over it and nothing got solved, so eventually my dad conceded and nailed some plywood over the gaping hole. Problem solved, but this was only the first strike. Strike number 2, just why? The next incident is honestly really stupid, and I don't even know why Lying Sally bothered lying. So this incident happened about a few days after we had to call our third noise complaint on one of their parties again. Like seriously, who blasts Let It Go at 10:30 p.m. at night? I wish I was making this up. My mom is getting out of her car in our driveway when Lying Sally walks right up to her and accuses her of yelling at their lawn mowing guy to not mow their lawn so loudly at 7:30 a.m. My mom was very confused. She has never talked to the guy who comes over to mow their lawn. We have never cared about any of our neighborhood's business in general. For frick's sake, we have a neighbor across the street who revs his motorcycle at 6 a.m. and another neighbor who does construction stuff in his garage for a hobby. My family has been living here for almost 20 years. We are very chill with our neighbors' loud and noisy hobbies normally. Long story short, my mom confronted the lawn mower guy one morning and asked him if she has ever talked to him before, and he told her no. Lying Sally saw this and ran out of the house to confront my mom. She screams,
"Why are you talking to him for?"
And so my mom replies, "Because you are a lying douchebag." And so that is the gist of it. I don't know why Lying Sally even bothered lying about that. At this point we were convinced Lying Sally was a nutcase. Strike number 3, the point where I finally stepped in. For the past month, my neighbors have stooped to a new low by hogging all of the parking space in front of our house whenever they get the opportunity. My family has 3 cars, 2 usually sit in our driveway and the third is parked curbside in front of our house. My neighbor has 2 cars, both of which they park alongside the curb in front of both of our houses. The curb our houses share is only big enough for 2 cars. They have stopped using their driveway entirely just to park their 2 cars on the curb, which forces us to park our third car further down the street. It is not a big deal, but what they were doing was petty. So my parents became petty too. The moment they would move their cars to go to work, my parents would move our third car back into its spot on our half of the curb. This went on for almost an entire year until at some point an unspoken truce was made and they stopped their petty scheme. Things returned back to normal until I accidentally screwed it up. In my defense though, I was driving home with the third car late at night. It is dark. I accidentally back up way too far and park the car smack dab in the middle of the curb, so my car is literally in the middle between our houses. I am tired from working all day, so I didn't think much of it since our neighbor still has a whole entire driveway to themselves. Trust me, their driveway is just like ours. It is made to fit 2 cars. The next morning I wake up to the sound of my parents arguing downstairs. Turns out our neighbors have parked one of their cars on their driveway and the other one is parked in front of our third car on our side of the curb. This wouldn't be a problem if one half of the hood of their car wasn't sticking out into our driveway. The problem with this is that if we try to back out the car, the one closest to their car in our driveway, we might hit their car, and I am pretty sure that was the purpose. I was done with their games, so I marched over next door and rang their doorbell. The husband, we will call him Pig for this story, opens the door and he is recording me as if I am going to attack him. Which is ridiculous, by the way. I am 5'2" and he is close to 6 foot tall. If anything, I should be the scared one. The conversation goes like this. Me, is it okay if you can move your car? Pig,
No, the police told me I can park anywhere I want, because it is a public road and they even told me I can record you.
Me, I don't even care about you recording me. I just need you to move your car. You have an entire driveway to yourself. It is just common courtesy to not block your neighbor's car into their driveway. Pig,
You guys can still get out, it is not that bad.
Me, yeah, but we just don't want to hit your car by accident while backing out. Pig,
Is that a threat?
Me, no. I'm just saying that we don't want to pay for the damage of your car because you didn't want to move it. And I cannot guarantee that we won't hit it. It's pretty damn close.
I don't care, I shouldn't have to move my car. You move your car.
I realized I was not going to get anywhere, so I let him slam the door in my face and I walked away. I went back inside my house and got on my laptop to make sure that yes, it is indeed illegal to park in front of someone's driveway, even partially. So my neighbor does have to move by law, however, I wanted to be a little bit petty, so I moved my car. I grabbed my car keys and carefully backed up the car, again the one closest to his poorly parked car, so that the back half is inches away from the front of Pig's car. So my car is now blocking Pig's car from pulling out into the street and leaving. My car is also blocking the sidewalk, which I know is illegal, but I already had this planned out. Basically, I caged in his car and held it hostage for a couple days. Here is the setup shown in this diagram. Either Pig or Lying Sally would have to come and apologize to make me move the car, which I knew was very unlikely. And yeah guys, here you can see a diagram of the situation. And I would encourage you to pause the video here and take a look at it. Part 4 of the story, Victory. Sure enough, as I predicted, Pig called the cops a few days later and reported me. His face was so smug as the officer told me that I cannot legally box in someone's car like that and block the sidewalk with my vehicle. I told the officer that I understood and that I will move my car, but I immediately pointed out that it is illegal to partially block the entrance point to someone's driveway as well, and that Pig's car is crossing that line by over 2 feet. The smile on Pig's face vanishes and his face turns red while the officer tells him that he is going to have to move his car as well. So I back up my car and I am grinning like a cat who has caught its prey. While Pig has to move his car into his driveway, I also made sure to move our third car back into its rightful spot as well. And guys, not gonna lie, someone should make a TV show episode of that story. Seriously, it almost read like a sitcom. Very good story, in my opinion. And the next one is titled, Rude Neighbor Catches Husband's Petty Revenge. Or Pretty Revenge, I'm not sure. So this happened a while back when we still lived in the Houston area. We lived in a cul-de-sac, the corner house on a big lot at a 4-way intersection. Our neighbor diagonal from us decided he needed more room in his garage, I guess, and decided to move his Chrysler 300 to the street in front of our house. Our house had a lot of road frontage, so it was not unusual for someone to do that occasionally. We parked on the street often too, it was not an issue. This neighbor though left his car there without moving it for weeks. Without even mentioning it to us, he even parked in a crappy way that prevented someone else from comfortably parking there. My husband is the pettiest and he got fed up and started letting air out of the guy's tires, starting with the ones on our side of the car so the neighbor could not see from his house. The tires got pretty flat all around and he still had not noticed. Then, after a month of it being parked there, we finally called the county and reported an abandoned car. I mean, how are we to know it was his car if he never bothered to talk to us? They stickered it and he had 48 hours to move it. We saw him out there with little time to spare, airing up tires and jumping the battery. He never spoke to us, no apology or,
"Hey, this is my car, I live over there."
He never parked there again. We did catch some dirty looks though. Edit to add, I'm not sure I made this clear, we never expected anyone to ask to park in front of our house. It is a public street and everyone in the area would park there occasionally, mostly guests of neighbors. Had he mentioned to us that he planned to just leave his car there for the foreseeable future, we would have asked him to at least park in a way that left room for others. Also, he did have an empty garage and space in his driveway and space in front of his own house. All of this led us to respond in kind with equally rude behavior. After all, this is petty revenge and not
how to solve things with your words.
He left the car there for a month that we knew of. We first saw it after a 2-week vacation and never moved it, started it, nothing. Literally left it till the battery died. The county told us that was plenty of time, no matter whose car it was, to be considered abandoned. And guys, I'm curious, have you ever gotten back at your annoying neighbors with any sort of revenge? Maybe even petty revenge? Let us know in the comments. A whole neighbor knocks on my door at 3 AM for the last straw today. Backstory, I manage my landlord's IT services in exchange for a couple dollars of my rent, occasionally standing up a server or converting systems to VMware, etc. I live in an apartment split in a single family home with one guy who is on a separate level/apartment. My neighbor continuously has been making noise at 1 to 3:30 AM, whether it is hammering, vacuuming or knocking on my door complaining. My landlord asked him to stop, but after a knock around 3:30 complaining how the internet is slow, I had it. The second time I have awoken due to him knocking on my door in the past 24 hours. I've effing had it. I logged onto our router last week and blocked all the PORN in pettiness. This time I blocked his devices from connecting period until he grows up. It is always him cussing in a drunken rampage at insane hours in the morning. I went to knock on his door around 7 AM to tell him to F off and we are having internet problems. I will turn it back on sometime. Next time I'm gonna route his traffic through something and cause a 1-second delay in his streaming. By the way, Ripe, Stars, I'm curious, are you night owls? How long do you usually stay up? Let us know in the comments. And Ripe Stars, unfortunately, we have reached the end of this video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless YouTube playlists, which should pop up on the left side of the screen in about 10 or 20 seconds. These playlists should definitely keep you busy, and I would really appreciate if you could listen to them before going to sleep. This would help my channel tremendously. If you still cannot get enough, then please don't forget to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive Reddit videos that you won't find on YouTube. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching.